Business Foundations for Mums, with me, Kate Butcher, is the podcast to listen to if you are a mum who is ready to launch your business, not sure where to start, or wanting to turn that sideline into something more serious. It will be full of practical tips, mindset advice, and inspirational and honest interviews with mums who are juggling business and motherhood, supporting mums in business to turn your dream into a reality. Welcome, Helen Wood, who is joining us today on the podcast. Helen, thank you very much for coming on. Please, can I start by asking you to give us an introduction of yourself and your business and your family and what you do?
Yeah, morning, Kate. Thank you for having me on board. My name's Helen Wood. And I'm the owner of two businesses, two very, very different businesses, actually. One is called Simply Construction Group, which I own together with my husband. And the second business that I run is called Ava Rose Marketing, which, as the name suggests, is a marketing business that I set up 3 years ago. I'm a mother to two daughters, Millie and Bella, aged 9 and 5. Lovely to be here and talk to you today, Kate.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us. As you say, two really different businesses. So can you tell us how it is that you've ended up working in two such really different industries?
Yeah, so I've always really kind of had a love of marketing, and I, like many others, went to university, always had done languages and really enjoyed them at school. And I remember my German teacher saying to me, don't just do a language at school, make sure you combine it with something else. And so I thought perhaps a business management degree would be a good one to combine. And so I took German with business at university, did a whole plethora of different modules, finance, logistics, obviously marketing. And then, kind of fell in love with marketing and decided to pursue a career in it after I left university. So I went on and worked for quite a few different brands, including some German ones. And so my last job was working for Schwarzkopf, which is not too far from here, actually. And there I was a senior brand manager working on their consumer hair dye. So I was doing all the marketing for them, running campaigns, launching new products. So I've always really kind of loved marketing, and to have been able to sort of combine it with my languages in a few of my jobs as well was ideal. But yeah, as it kind of happens to many of us, I wanted to start a family. So 9 years ago, I fell pregnant with Millie, who, so that kind of sort of made me really evaluate, like, where do I want to go with my career? Because I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back into full-time work. So at the time we were sort of my husband had set up a business in London. He was an engineer working on underground railway projects. He was working on connecting the tube stations for the Olympic Games at the time. And he had a vision of kind of setting up a construction company that had basically would kind of be a professional step on from our experiences that we'd had from renovating our flat in London. And he thought, gosh, this could be done in such a kind of different, more professional way. So he decided to set up a company called Simply Extend. And basically, he was kind of half doing his contracting role and half running this construction company. And when I sort of was trying to figure out where my career was going, we decided that it would give us more flexibility to be around Millie when she was born, for me to kind of step out of that world and for us to work together on this construction business. So yeah, it was quite daunting at the time, actually, Kate, because we were, you know, to have one of us on like in a salaried role, you know, that was quite nice, whilst the other one was pursuing a business.
Yeah.
So for us to both be in it was kind of like a major step forward and a little bit daunting at the time.
Absolutely.
So Millie was born, and yes, and then a year after that, I decided to take the leap and go and work with Rob together on the construction side of things. So it just started like with one day a week. I was very tired, obviously. And I said to him, look, you know, what can I do? What can I do to sort of help, you know, this business? And obviously having the marketing experience, we decided that would be like a logical thing for me to take over. So I just started on one day and then increased to two, and it just slowly built up over time. And you know, we changed different things, we launched new brands, and it just grew and grew, like together with us both focusing on it at the same time and working together as a team. We kind of went from the, you know, the first year doing 12 projects a year, then the next year it went to 24, and it would double like every year. The third year it was 50, and then we took on more staff. And, you know, 9 years later now, we're doing anywhere up to 300 projects a year across London. And we've just recently opened in the West Midlands as well. So 2 years ago. So that's doing really well as well. So it's just been a huge kind of learning curve, because I guess no one really ever prepares you for sort of owning your own business and running it. And whilst I love to say it was just marketing that I was getting involved in, I was having to get involved in so many other elements as well that perhaps took me out of my comfort zone a little bit at the beginning. So that was kind of the journey with Simply Construction Group. I mean, at the time it was just Simply Extend, but it's become a whole group now. And so, yeah, it's been lovely to kind of watch how it's evolved over all of those years and where we are today. So yeah, so that was one of the businesses.
Amazing.
And then obviously Ava Rose Marketing, which yeah, is my other business that I run on the side as well. So that was born kind of in 2019, so nearly 3 years ago now. And I really kind of wanted to, the idea behind Ava Rose Marketing was to take everything that I'd learned from working sort of on bigger brands before I worked on Simply Construction Group, but also taking those learning experiences from running the business with my husband and kind of providing support and advice to small businesses, startups, sole traders, for example, you know, and providing marketing advice and consultancy to people that were in kind of our shoes as well, and just getting them practical you know, advice to work from and to be able to build their companies from, because I think it was so different from working on a big brand versus, you know, working for yourself on your own company and having to use your savings to invest in it and to build on. It was really, really kind of a totally different experience. And I really wanted to kind of give back to businesses and help them as well through Ava Rose, just get some really solid advice and make sure that they're going in the right direction. So yeah, so that was the kind of the idea behind Ava Rose. It started as a consultancy, and then we kind of found out that you know, it wasn't just strategy that small business owners needed. They perhaps didn't want to carry out their own marketing themselves. So we then became sort of an outsourced marketing function, and yeah, have a couple of team members now in Ava Rose as well that are helping me. So yeah, we're doing everything from strategy right through to implementation, which is great. So we get to see kind of the whole life cycle and journey that our customers go on as well. So it's really rewarding.
Oh gosh, wow. Well, okay, I've come up with loads of questions from all the stuff you talked about, and I suppose key points to pull out as well. One of the things that you sort of talked about there was then when you joined with your husband and started bringing the marketing into the business, and doing the role that grew and grew for marketing. And it just seems to show, I think, doesn't it, how important marketing is within a business. I assume that you would attribute a huge part of the growth of the business and the rapid growth to the marketing side of it that was going on. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope so. And I think, it was very comfortable, to come. I mean, I was working in the hair and beauty industry, obviously, before I stepped into construction. So it was, completely different. Completely different kettle of fish to work on. And I think what was fascinating about that journey is, if you think about the construction industry, it's perhaps not as advanced as other industries are in terms of marketing. And so nobody had ever really kind of built a brand in our industry. It's quite fragmented, and a lot of players are, smaller building companies. So, to build a bigger brand and to try and create trust with the clients that are potentially going to use us as well, it was, it's quite a big challenge, but, thankfully it's one that's paid off. And, it's I think, hopefully when people see our brand now in London, they know that they can trust us. I mean, we've been around now for 12 years, and a lot of players in our industry, they don't last long. It's quite a turbulent kind of sector to work in. Players come and go. So the fact that we've been there for 12 years and have built a lot of equity in the brand through what we're doing, and the number of projects we've worked on now, hopefully that places a lot of trust there. And what we're seeing in Birmingham, for example, where we've just opened, is almost like having a startup again, because no one really does what we do. So it's completely new in this world, in that industry. So it's like with Birmingham and the West Midlands, it's like kind of starting off on a little journey again, which is exciting. But it's nice to see that we are winning work there and people are choosing to use us, and hopefully we can build up the reputation there as well as what we have done in London. And then, who's to say that, hopefully there might be more cities that we can kind of take the concept to. So yeah, it's been, I think hopefully with, the marketing that we've been able to bring to it has kind of influenced that as well, and we can reach more people with what we have to offer. So
absolutely. and marketing with that you do with Ava Rose. So Ava, where does the name come from? I didn't ask.
I'd love to say I spent ages brainstorming it, but actually I felt like I didn't want to just call it Helen Wood marketing. So I chose the middle names of my children. So yeah, it was just as simple as that, really. And I think, and it's lovely because it's more than me working on, Ava Rose now. Have Emma, and more recently Libby, who's joined us. And I think that's nice as well to have. Obviously it means something to me, but if it was just my name, for example, it probably doesn't mean that much to the rest of the company too. So it's that's the reason I chose it, really. It's purely just the middle names of my children.
Fantastic. And well, what a lovely thing to inspire your business, isn't it? It's your children who are clearly the inspiration behind it. So and the reason why we do what we do, isn't it? So that's exactly. Fantastic.
Luckily they sort of goes together, actually.
It works nicely. Absolutely. And I think again, the importance of marketing. I mean, it is huge. And it's something that's come up in previous podcast interviews where business owners have talked about starting their business. And it's something I hear so often from mums. You know, they start their business, they do what they do in their business.
Yeah.
And they find that actually marketing has to take a lead in a lot of what they're doing. And it takes up so much time, especially if you want to do it well. It really is just so time consuming. So actually an agency like yours, or a company like yours, that can help somebody with the strategy but also potentially help with some of the delivery, I think is so needed. There is so much demand for it, and it's something that's so important in all areas of business. So I think it's brilliant to have that dual function as well, to have the strategy that you're helping people to create, but then also being able to deliver that for them.
Exactly.
It's really important. How do you find are there people who use just one part of that and not the other, and both sections, or how does it work for people?
We meet people from all sort of sectors, and usually people come to us with their business, and are perhaps just stuck in a rut somewhere, don't know where to go, or they've just launched, say, a website, and they don't know why they're not getting any visitors, or they're not making any sales. All kind of clients from all walks of life, to be honest, in various stages. I'd say probably about 80% of them come to us wanting strategic direction first. So, and that's lovely, because actually, if we get to work on the strategy, we really get to craft the direction of where their business should go from a marketing perspective. But we also get to learn like a lot about them, what their goals are, and it becomes a real journey that we go on together, which is really, really nice. And I always create my strategies in a very kind of simple way that it's very to the point. So if they wanted to, because I think what's often the case with startups or small businesses is the lack of investment at the start. That can be quite prohibitive, I think, to small businesses, and we completely empathize with that situation, because we've been in it before ourselves. So I always write my strategies in the way that, if they wanted to, they could go away and try and carry some of this out themselves, if not all of it. So we write them in very simple steps, very simple stages. You need to do this, then followed by this, and then this is the more kind of longer term strategy to focus on. And so it never, forces people to have to use us for the delivery side of things. And some people like to go away and say, right, well, I'm going to do this bit, but I've really got no desire to do this. Would you be able to help us? And we can pull a price and a plan together to be able to deliver that for them as well. Or some people just say, right, I know what I love doing, and I haven't got the time to execute any of the marketing side of things. Would you let us know how much it would cost to run this month to month? And so it varies really, but I'd say 90% of the strategies that we write, we do go on to kind of working with them in further capacity as well, which is really, really nice, because we've seen some amazing kind of success stories, and we really, that's what's so rewarding about working on Ava Rose, is watching other people kind of go on their own journey with their own businesses, and hopefully onto a successful experience.
Fantastic. That sounds amazing. Oh, thank you very much, Helen. So you've told us a bit about kind of where the business started from. What would you say, though, is the best bit of business advice that you have been given since being in business?
Oh, that's a really, really tricky one. Do you know what? Because my husband and I have always just been together as a team. We've never really had lots of people advising us, unfortunately, because, if I'd have done it again, I would have asked loads of people for advice and questions. So we've always just followed kind of our common sense. And our like, you know, our own experience. And don't get me wrong, you know, we have made mistakes along the way, and, you know, really had to pick ourselves up from that and learn from them. But the one thing that I think that I would say I've always tried to take from when I was working on bigger brands, that has worked really nicely, is the planning side of things, and how important that is. Because I think when you meet a lot of clients, I think one of the, especially through Over Rose, I think one of the common mistakes it's so easy to fall into when you're running a small business is to just go off on perhaps a more gunshot approach on marketing. Right, I need to advertise in this magazine, or I need to, you know, I need to be all over social media. And actually, you know, you're spending money left, right and centre on all of these different types of marketing. And actually what we all need to do is just take a deep breath and go one step back. And I think the kind of experience I took from the bigger brands that I've worked on, and all the planning we used to go through for that. And granted, we don't have the luxury of time when you're running a small business to spend months and months on planning and strategy and that sort of thing. But I think if you can just allocate however much time, even if it's just a little bit, to really kind of think about what your goals are and, you know, what direction you want your business to go in, it's so invaluable, really. And you know, we were probably guilty, Rob and I, a little bit of that when we first started working on Simply. And actually, I've been right, you know, every year we need to work out what our strategy is this year. How are we going to improve? You know, what are our sales targets? You know, all those big questions need answering. And then that really, you know, once you've got those answered, that really then starts to help you plan what marketing you need to be able to deliver and reach those goals and targets. And you know, I think we've always tried to follow that every year, although it's so tempting not to. But I think it's really important, no matter what size of business you are, if you could just devote a little bit of time to it every year, it will really pay dividends, really. And help you kind of track and see if you're, you know, if you're reaching your target.
Absolutely. So really it's about creating that marketing strategy rather than just using a scattergun approach to seeing what works.
And actually, you know, if you are doing that, you're you know, what people don't realize is you're possibly wasting a lot of marketing budget because it's not refined in any way, and, you know, you're not perhaps reaching the people that you're meant to be. So lots of planning at the start will really help, and it'll help save money as well, which is really important for small businesses. So you know, so yeah, that would definitely be my advice.
Definitely. Fantastic. No, that's a really great bit of advice. And it's one that, I mean, it fits really nicely at the moment this week while we're doing the interview, but obviously when it goes out, it will have already been and gone. But at the moment, I'm running my business planning challenge at the moment, which that's one of the things, exactly what we talk about, is that it's really important to have a plan, to know where you're going, to know what you want to achieve. Because if you don't know where you're going and what you want to achieve, you're not going to be able to plan your route on how you're going to get there.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's a really, and marketing is such a huge part, as we've already said, of any business. So to plan your marketing is absolutely key, isn't it? It's a huge part of it. So yeah, really good advice. Thank you very much for that. And equally, I mean, we've asked about your best advice, but what would you say is the best tool that you have within your business, or that you find that you use? And that could be an app, it could be a piece of equipment, it could be any kind of tool that you would advise or recommend for mums in business.
Do you know, it's really tricky. When I first started Over Rose, it was just me working on it on my own. So I used to have a lot of spreadsheets, all sorts of things flying around, and we've had to obviously get a lot more organized as the months and the years go on. And now there's more than just myself working in the team. We actually use Google Sheets quite often. because what we found was that if one of us was in a spreadsheet and then someone else goes, it's not saving. So actually, some of the Google Sheets have been brilliant for us. So no, it sounds really simple, but actually any one of us can go in it at any time and edit it. And because we have lots of clients now that we're working on, it's been a great way to kind of track what projects we need to do, who's working on them, when has it been done, how long did it take, those kinds of things. And the fact that it's, you know, anyone can go in at any time and edit it is brilliant. So we don't have to worry about spreadsheets being open and, you know, not being saved, that kind of thing. One other I think from a business perspective, and you'll probably agree with me, Kate, that just invoicing, quoting, that kind of thing, I think it just pays dividends to have kind of some software there to help you. So I've just been recently transferring everything over into Xero, which has been
my favorite.
It's been an absolute godsend because you know, in the early days when I only had like a few clients, it was fine. I just kind of manually invoice, that kind of thing. And as we're getting bigger, I think it's just really helping me stay on top of everything really easily. And, you know, I think what none of us prepare for is that, you know, obviously I love marketing, if you can't tell, but actually when you're running a business, there's so many other things, isn't there? You know, there's the bookkeeping, the financial side of things, the HR, you know, it's not just doing what you love, it's just so many other little elements. So, you know, moving everything over to Xero has been a lifesaver for me, and hopefully my accountant too.
I'm totally with you. In fact, both of those tools that you've mentioned there, I'm absolutely with you on both. The Google Sheets, exactly the same. I find that with again, as you say, having a team, it's really, really useful having Google Sheets. And I've transferred a lot of our business work over to Google Sheets that was previously on Excel. And Excel is still great for some things, don't get me wrong, it's great particularly for the financial sheets because the formulas are so much better on there. But actually, the Google Sheets that we share, and we do, as you know, in my business, we do a lot of social media scheduling for clients as well. And so it's really great because the client can be on the Google Sheet, I can be on the Google Sheet, the associate who's creating the content can be on the Google Sheet. We all have access to it. People can go in and make amendments. And as you see, you know, as you say, you can see who's working on which box at the time, and you can all be working in the same document at the same time. It's amazing.
Brilliant. I love
it's such a good tool. So I totally with you on that one. And likewise, Xero, it's probably one of my absolute favorites. I love Xero. It's my favorite account of all the accounting software, and I use quite a few with different clients. But Xero I use myself. I did start off actually with QuickBooks. I did a free trial of both, and I didn't spend enough time during that free trial of both to decide actually which one I wanted. And I went with QuickBooks because so many more people recommended it. And I very quickly, after using Xero with a few clients, decided that I actually needed to switch over because it's such a fantastic tool, as you say, for keeping everything streamlined and recorded. And so it's so user-friendly, so easy to use.
It really is. Exactly. Because I'm not, you know, I'm not always a big fan of like doing all the financial side of things.
Most people aren't.
So it's like a dream. But I feel very lucky actually that I chose that one and none of the others actually now talking to you.
And like you say, your accountant can be on there so they can get all the information they need. And I do find that a lot of the clients that I work with, those who use Xero don't tend to make many mistakes in their inputting, whereas other software, including QuickBooks, is much more easy to make mistakes or to do things wrong from a bookkeeping perspective, or, you know, there's multiple ways to do things. And if somebody does it 3 ways, you've recorded your sales 3 times and so on. So it's much easier and more straightforward. And it's a brilliant tool. It's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us. Fabulous. Final question for you today, Helen, is about business books, do you have, well, I've already asked the question before we got started today about do you have a favorite business book, and you said that you don't really tend to read a lot of books about business particularly, but do you have any book recommendations that you would like?
Yeah, I say I don't read a lot of business books, but actually I have kind of read a couple of biographies.
Yes,
albeit quite some time ago. Actually, I read like one about Richard Branson, and I read the Alan Sugar one as well. And I think, you know, what's really interesting actually, because my husband, with the Richard Branson one, I found quite interesting because he suffered with dyslexia and kind of really struggled at school, and kind of my husband went on a kind of similar journey with that as well. And so, you know, he's always he's quite heavily dyslexic and has always kind of you know, had to really kind of work super hard academically, and found it quite challenging when he was younger. So, you know, to read those sorts of stories are always very, very inspirational as well. But yeah, no, sadly, I don't get much time to read anymore now with the children. But hopefully at some point, you know, that will change. But I've actually been getting into a podcast called The Diary of a CEO. I don't know if you've heard of that one. Probably you have. And that one's actually run by a gentleman called Stephen Bartlett. Again, really interesting kind of stories, and I think probably because the fact that he ran his own social media agency as well and then went on to sell it, there's quite a nice kind of marketing connection there as well, which I always find quite inspirational. But yeah, so just kind of listening to that now, but sadly don't get the time to read as much anymore as I'd like to. But hopefully, you know, if I can get early retirement, Kate, that might change.
Absolutely, most definitely. And yeah, I mean, both those two books that you mentioned, the two biographies, are they ones that you would recommend? Did you feel that you got a lot from them?
You know, it was such a long time ago, and I think, you know, I probably didn't place as much value on it as I would have reading it now, because I'm in totally a different situation. And I think I read them so long ago. It was before we'd, you know, gone on any journey sort of launching our own businesses. So, but in hindsight, I'd love to pick them up again and read, because they, you know, everybody just, you know, starts off as in a very ordinary, you know, place. And I think that was what was kind of quite inspiring about those two books, is that, you know, they were once very just, you know, ordinary, normal people like ourselves. And you know, it's always very interesting, I think, to read about, you know, what they went on to do, and, you know, the ups and the downs of getting to where they are today. I think is always something that, you know, we can all relate to, really, because it's never easy, is it, when you run your own business? Absolutely. You know, there's always challenges, I think, and I think people tend to sometimes just think it's quite easy and it might all be plain sailing, but actually, you know, there's a lot of mountains you have to climb, I think, on the road to anywhere. So it's nice to always read about how other people did that and overcame it as well. So yeah.
And I don't know so much with Alan Sugar, but I know certainly with Richard Branson, sort of some of the quotes that I've read from him over the years, for him, so much of it is about mindset and having the right mindset and having that sort of, you know, I can achieve anything I want to mindset that he's always had. And I think, that's really inspiring. And actually, they're certainly his autobiography is one that's been on my wish list for a while, and I still haven't read or listened to.
It's probably written another one since I read them.
I think there are a few. I think there's a few around. But yeah, they're definitely two entrepreneurs who are definitely worth, you know, aspiring to be, or to get just a fraction of their success, really, isn't it? Would be amazing.
Exactly.
And the podcast, yes, the Diary of a CEO. I haven't listened,
Yeah.
but it's been one that's been on my radar for a while, and I've heard a lot of people recommending it, and it's been up at number one in the podcast charts for a really long time. I do see a lot of Stephen Bartlett's quotes on LinkedIn as well. He seems to be popping up all over the place.
I think he's from Manchester, which is obviously where I'm from.
I
find it really inspiring. So it's nice to see, to listen to and see what he had to overcome and the challenges as well, because I think he had to drop out of school too. So it's another interesting listen.
I think that's going to have to go a bit higher up in my my list of priorities of which podcasts to listen to. Definitely. And I don't know if he is, but he looks very young from his podcast cover, so he seems like quite a young man who's doing incredibly well.
I think he's on Dragon's Den now as well, isn't he? I think I've not actually watched it, but I think he's doing all sorts of things, which is great.
Fantastic. Again, really, really inspiring, somebody to aspire to be like. Definitely. Fantastic. Oh, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for your insights and time today, Helen. That's been really, really valuable, and some really good insights for all of us, specifically the ones around marketing. That's fabulous. So thank you for that. Before we finish, could you just give us an idea of how we can find you? Where do people go online to track down Ava Rose Marketing or Simply Construction or anything that you do?
Or if you're in London or the West Midlands, obviously Simply Construction Group is those are the two areas we operate at the moment. So our main website is www.simplyconstructiongroup.co.uk. So you can find out more about us there. Also Ava Rose Marketing, we're based in town, but we have clients, in all sorts of towns and cities across the UK. So our website for that is www.avarosemarketing.co.uk. Those are the two businesses. So
fantastic. And are you on socials as well, if I can follow you?
So we're on Facebook and Instagram are the main two. We're also on LinkedIn more recently as well. So by all means, feel free to look us up and connect with us.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure the links to all of those are in the show notes as well, so people can find you really easily.
Fabulous. Thank you, Kate.
Oh, well, it's been really lovely to chat to you today. Thank you so much, Helen, and we look forward to keeping up with the developments of Simply Construction and Ava Rose going forward.
Thank you. It's wonderful to meet with you. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks, Kate.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here at Business Foundations for Mums. You can find all of our episodes, show notes and blog posts at businessfoundationsformums.co.uk, and you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook.